Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, now one more matter, which happens to be the one that Mr. John Oloyede joins us now. He's a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Morning.
Well, it happens to be this controversy about the certification or qualification of the vice president and the presidential candidate of the APC. There's been a lot of talk in the media about whether or not they are educated up to at least if they got that primary school certificate as the Constitution requires. What do you think about all of this making the rounds?
Well, the Nigerian political terrain has greatly developed. The social media is now so very much agog with all sorts of insinuations. But we can't still take it away from the law. What are the legal requirements? Now, I appreciate the much that the Vice President, Mr. Sambo, had filled his forms and he indicated that his certificates were burnt. And he went further to get letters from the institutions he claimed to have attended, particularly Ahmadu Bello University. He got letters attesting to the fact that he actually got his BSc and MSc in architecture from that institution. Now, on the other side of the divide, the presidential candidate of APC, General Muhammadu Buhari, indicated that his certificates, the relevant certificates, are with the military authorities where he worked. And he also deposed to an affidavit. Now, he stopped short of getting anything from any of the institutions he claimed to have attended to support the positions in his affidavit in support of his application. Well, it is the exclusive preserve of parties to present candidates to INEC under the law, Section 31. They are the candidate will fill the forms, it will be submitted. The job of INEC under the Electoral Act, as amended, is to publish this form in the constituency where the man is seeking election.
The ones that they filled themselves.
The ones they have filled, they are to be published together with the affidavit in support in the constituency. This should be Abuja because he is seeking election into the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And this would be where, their constituency, not even INEC office.
The INEC office, that's the constituency because he's asking to be the President of Nigeria. Now, after having that's all that INEC can do in the circumstance. I admit the much that it is rather incongruous for a candidate to say, oh, my certificates are at so place. You cannot send somebody from whom you are seeking employment to go and look for your certificates wherever you say they are. It's your job to go there, get it, and add it to your application. But assuming that, well, there's been this lapse on the part of any of the candidates, what is the position of the law? The law is very clear that after having published the forms as filled by the candidates, it is for anybody who is not satisfied with the contents of the affidavit or the form to then protest. The protestation should be by way of an action to be filed at a court of law. Now, when the matter is filed, the court can look at it and say, oh, what this man has presented does not meet the requirements of the law. INEC cannot unilaterally, disqualify a candidate under the law as it presently is. And I say this instructively. When the act was to be amended, the chairman of INEC, Professor Atahiru Jega, he presented a proposal for amending that act. One of the proposals was, if somebody presents an application for any elective office, and by scrutinizing the application, INEC officials are of the opinion that this does not meet with the requirements of the law, INEC should be given the power to reject the application. It's just like political parties seeking to be registered for the first time. INEC can write and notify the party that you do not qualify. We cannot register you. But in the case of a candidate that has been presented who has not met the requirements of the law, INEC can do nothing.
So the National Assembly took that.
They did not effect that amendment. So, for instance, if somebody who is an American citizen, one way or the other, joins a political party in Nigeria and applies for the post of the president, and it is within the exclusive preserve of a political party to present any candidate who has met the requirements of the law by their own reckoning, if they present an American citizen as their presidential candidate, the effect of this law, this provision, section 31, 34, is that INEC can do nothing. INEC will just look at it and say, well, publish it. And if any Nigerian does not object by filing a case in court, that person will contest the election.
So what about what the Constitution says about their requirement? I think it was section, is it not 31?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Section 31 of the Electoral Act says that any person for elective post in Nigeria, I mean, it's the party that will present the candidate. The person fills a form. I am trying to create an hypothetical case. He fills a form, says I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. Irrespective of the fact that the man has not met the requirements according to the dictates of the law, INEC cannot unilaterally say, we are rejecting your form.
So who can?
The Nigerian can. Anybody can go to court and say, this man does not meet the requirement. I don't agree with what he has said here. For instance, if the man says he's a white man, he says, I'm a Nigerian. He does not put his international passport, he does not put anything to show he's a Nigerian. He says, well, you can go to immigration office, you will see that I'm a Nigerian. The implication of the law as it stands is that INEC can't do nothing. Now, what is the essence of giving INEC financial autonomy? You amended the act to say, oh, you are autonomous, you can do this, you can hire and fire and do all that. But administratively, INEC must continue shutting its eyes to obvious reality.
Yeah, but can't INEC go to court? I mean, they published it. It says any Nigerian object. I'm also thinking that it could also be any Nigerian entity, so that if INEC can be sued, then they are good enough as a person, as it were, before a court of law to see if they can object.
Under the law, the same Electoral Act, every officer of INEC swears to an oath of neutrality. He's not supposed to be a member of any political party. They are just to serve, they are just to conduct elections, when you have a referendum and all that. As officers of INEC, it will be out of place for them to be the one. I mean, you are the person accusing, you are the person. They cannot, but the law stands. When it comes to issues of presentation of candidates, they cannot unilaterally. Check section 34, section 31, and 34. INEC has no say. It just, even when it is so obvious that what this person, it was in his proposed amendment. And he gave reasons backing it up. So to this extent, the chairman of INEC had done his own bit. He had tried. But for whatever reason, you say, oh, INEC should be independent, and you say first charge. Their money should come from the Consolidated Revenue Fund. They have a special fund. They can invest. They can do all that. But INEC cannot go beyond just accepting an application. They can't scrutinize and say, no, something is wrong with this. That the only thing is they publish. Every Nigerian looks at it. The other way that kind of lapse can be redressed is after the election. When it's all over, one of the grounds for which will form the basis of filing a petition in court to challenge the election of the person is that the person who has now been elected was otherwise not qualified for election.